Hello, everyone. During your U.S. citizenship interview, a U.S. CIS officer will review your N400 application and your background. They will ask questions about your personal information to make sure that you understood the questions and give you an opportunity to revise any answers completed incorrectly or that have changed since filing the application. They also want to determine your ability to speak and understand English. In this video, we will go over all personal questions on your N400 application that are most often asked during the interview. As it is an important part, please learn and remember all your information as much as you can. If you learn and remember well everything in this video, I believe you can pass your test very easily. Alright, first of all, I will go over questions about you, such as your name, your date of birth, place of birth. What is your full name? What is your full name? Or, what is your current legal name? What is your current legal name? To answer these questions, you can say, "My name is Victoria Serrano." My name is Victoria Serrano. Of course, please replace the highlighted words to your personal information. What is your last name? What is your last name? My last name is Serrano. My last name is Serrano. What is your first name? What is your first name? My first name is Victoria. My first name is Victoria. What is your middle name? What is your middle name? My middle name is Christina. My middle name is Christina. Or, I don't have a middle name. I don't have a middle name. Have you used any other names before? Have you used any other names before? Or, they ask in another way, do you have any other names? Do you have any other names? Yes, I've used other names, called Vic. Yes, I've used other names, called Vic. Or, no, I don't have other names. No, I don't have other names. Have you ever changed your name? Have you ever changed your name? No, I have never changed my name. No, I have never changed my name. Or, yes, I changed my name after my marriage. Yes, I changed my name after my marriage. Do you want to change your name? Do you want to change your name? Or, would you like to change your name? Would you like to change your name? Yes, I want to change my name to Kim Serrano. Yes, I want to change my name to Kim Serrano. Or, no, I don't want to change my name. Or, no, I don't want to change my name. What is your social security number? What is your social security number? This is a 9-digit number on your social security card. For example, 692-86-3478. What is your date of birth? What is your date of birth? When is your birthday? When is your birthday? Or, when were you born? When were you born? You can just say your date of birth. For example, December 19th, 1980. Where are you from? Where are you from? I'm from Mexico. I'm from China. What is your country of birth? What is your country of birth? My country of birth is Mexico. My country of birth is Mexico. What is your country of nationality? What is your country of nationality? My country of nationality is Mexico. My country of nationality is Mexico. Are you a citizen of Mexico? Are you a citizen of Mexico? Are you a citizen of China? Are you a citizen of China? You can answer yes or no. Next questions are about the information to contact you, such as phone number, address. What is your phone number? What is your phone number? My phone number is 713-236-7425. Or, you can say directly, 713-236-7425. What is your email address? What is your email address? For example, my email address is rose86@gmail.com. What is your current address? What is your current address? Or, where do you currently live? Where do you currently live? These questions are to ask about your physical address where you currently live. For example, 128 Defiance Avenue, Findlay, Ohio, 45840. What was your previous address? What was your previous address? Or, where did you live before? Where did you live before? These questions are to ask about your physical previous address, where you lived before you moved to the current address. You can answer by just saying your previous address. When did you move to that address? When did you move to that address? They want to confirm the date you moved to that address. I moved to that address in November 28, 2019. I moved to that address in November 28, 2019. When did you leave that address? When did you leave that address? This is the date you moved from that address to the other address. I left that address on December 6, 2020. I left that address on December 6, 2020. Have you lived anywhere else in the last 5 years? Have you lived anywhere else in the last 5 years? Where else have you lived in the last 5 years? Where else have you lived in the last 5 years? You should remember all the addresses that you have lived in the past 5 years. Some officers may verify every single address in the last 5 years. Next, I'm moving on to some questions about your naturalization eligibility. The purpose of these questions is to make sure you meet the requirements to apply for U.S. citizenship. How are you eligible to be a U.S. citizen? How are you eligible to be a U.S. citizen? To apply for U.S. citizenship, you must be 18 years of age or older and have been a lawful permanent resident for at least 5 years, or 3 years if you are married to a U.S. citizen. So the answer is, I've been a lawful permanent resident for 6 years. I've been a lawful permanent resident for 8 years. When did you become a permanent resident? When did you become a permanent resident? Or, when did you get your green card? When did you get your green card? Getting a green card and becoming a permanent resident are the same. I got my green card on October 27, 2012. I got my green card on October 27, 2012. How many years have you had your green card? How many years have you had your green card? Or they can ask in a different way. How long have you been a permanent resident? How long have you been a permanent resident? You can answer shortly, for example, 6 years, 8 years. Or you should answer in a sentence. I've had my green card for 6 years. I have been a permanent resident for 8 years. I have been a permanent resident for 8 years. How did you get your green card? How did you get your green card? Or, how did you become a permanent resident? How did you become a permanent resident? It means who sponsored your green card. Your parents, your sister, or your brother, or your spouse? I became a permanent resident through my parents. I became a permanent resident through my parents. Or, I got my green card through my husband. I got my green card through my husband. My parents sponsored my green card. My husband sponsored my green card. Now I'm going to the questions about your employment and school. This is one of the most important parts in the interview since the immigration officers want to know what you did in the past or what you are doing for the living. Are you currently working? Are you currently working? Or do you work? Do you work? Yes, I work as a truck driver. Yes, I work as a truck driver. What do you do for a living? What do you do for a living? What is your occupation? What is your occupation? What kind of work do you do? What kind of work do you do? These questions are the same. If you are a worker, you say, I am a worker. If you are a truck driver, you say, I am a truck driver. Where do you work for? Where do you work for? Who is your current employer? Who is your current employer? Where are you employed? Where are you employed? These questions are to verify your employer's name. You can answer your company name or where you work. For example, Apple Inc., EMC Corporation. What is your employer's address? What is your employer's address? For example, 1307 Northwold Street, Lima, Ohio, 45801. How long have you worked there? How long have you worked there? I worked there for 4 years. I worked there for 4 years. How long have you had that job? How long have you had that job? I have had that job for 4 years. I have had that job for 4 years. When did you leave that job? When did you leave that job? I left that job on October 12th, 2019. I left that job on October 12th, 2019. Where have you worked for the last 5 years? Where have you worked for the last 5 years? Where were you employed for the last 5 years? Where were you employed for the last 5 years? Have you worked anywhere else in the last 5 years? Have you worked anywhere else in the last 5 years? These questions are to verify all places where you worked in the last 5 years. Please try to memorize all companies' name that you used to work for in the last 5 years. How do you support yourself? How do you support yourself? If you are unemployed, the immigration officer may want to know what you live on, since you don't have a job, or you may have the other incomes, but you haven't declared. You can say, "My children support me." My children support me. Or, "My husband supports me." Or, "My husband supports me." Have you received any public benefits? Have you received any public benefits? You can answer yes or no. If you have never received public benefits, you can say, "No, I never received public benefits." No, I never received public benefits. Next questions are your biographic information. How tall are you? How tall are you? Or, what is your height? Or, what is your height? For example, I'm 5 feet 6 inches tall. I'm 5 feet 6 inches tall. How much do you weigh? How much do you weigh? What is your weight? What is your weight? I'm 121 pounds. I'm 121 pounds. What is your hair color? What is your hair color? My hair color is brown. My hair color is brown. What is your eye color? What is your eye color? My eye color is black. My eye color is black. What is your race? What is your race? I am white. I am Asian. Are you Hispanic or Latino? Are you Hispanic or Latino? Hispanic refers to people who speak Spanish, while Latino refers to people from Latin America, including Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. You may answer yes or no. we will move on to some questions about time outside the U.S. This is the important part because the officers want to make sure you meet the continuous residence requirement and eligible to be a U.S. citizen. They will probably ask you about your trip during the interview, so please prepare your answers carefully if you have traveled outside the U.S. in the last 5 years. Have you ever traveled outside the U.S. in the last 5 years? Have you ever traveled outside the U.S. in the last 5 years? Have you left the U.S. in the last 5 years? Have you left the U.S. in the last 5 years? Have you ever been outside the U.S. in the last 5 years? Have you ever been outside the U.S. in the last 5 years? These questions have the same meaning. If you have ever traveled outside the U.S., say yes, and list all the trips abroad in the last 5 years. How many trips have you taken in the last 5 years? How many trips have you taken in the last 5 years? How many times did you go outside the U.S. in the last 5 years? How many times did you go outside the U.S. in the last 5 years? These questions are the same. To answer these questions, for example, you can say 2 trips or 2 times. How many total days did you spend outside the U.S. in the last 5 years? How many total days did you spend outside the U.S. in the last 5 years? How many days were you outside the U.S. in the last 5 years? How many days were you outside the U.S. in the last 5 years? To answer these questions, you have to add from the date you left the U.S. to the date you returned to the U.S. on your trips in total. For example, total, I spent 25 days outside the U.S. Total, I spent 25 days outside the U.S. Or, I was outside the U.S. 25 days. I was outside the U.S. 25 days. Have you taken any other trips outside the U.S.? Have you taken any other trips outside the U.S.? Yes, I also went to Brazil on April 4th, 2021. Yes, I also went to Brazil on April 4th, 2021. Or, no, that's it. No, that's it. Have you ever left the U.S. for more than 6 months? Have you ever left the U.S. for more than 6 months? Have you ever left the U.S. for a year or more? Have you ever left the U.S. for a year or more? If you leave the U.S. for more than 6 months, you break the continuous residence rule. It means you are not eligible to become a U.S. citizen at this time. Where did you go? Where did you go? Or which country did you visit? Or which country did you visit? I went to Brazil. I went to Costa Rica. Why did you leave the U.S.? Why did you leave the U.S.? Please give me reasons for why you left. Please give me reasons for why you left. The immigration officer may want to know the purposes of your trip, especially long-term travel. I went on vacation. I went on a business trip. When did you leave the U.S.? When did you leave the U.S.? On what date did you leave the U.S.? On what date did you leave the U.S.? You should remember exactly the date when you left and returned to the U.S. For example, I left the U.S. on August 13th, 2019. I left the U.S. on August 13th, 2019. When did you return to the U.S.? When did you return to the U.S.? I returned on September 25th, 2019. I returned on September 25th, 2019. The next part is questions about your parents. Is your mother or father a U.S. citizen? Is your mother or father a U.S. citizen? Or they may ask, is either of your parents a U.S. citizen? Is either of your parents a U.S. citizen? The reason why they ask these questions is to confirm if one of your parents is a U.S. citizen. You may automatically be a U.S. citizen if one of your parents is a U.S. citizen at birth, or they became U.S. citizen before your 18th birthday. What is your mother's name? What is your mother's name? Or, what is your father's name? What is your father's name? How old are your parents? How old are your parents? If your parents are not U.S. citizen, the questions about your parents are not a whole lot. Alright, now I'm going to the next part with questions about your marital status. What is your marital status? What is your marital status? I'm married. I'm divorced. Or I'm single. Are you married? Are you married? Yes, I am. How many times have you been married? How many times have you been married? 2 times. Or, I've been married 2 times. I've been married 2 times. Were you married before? Were you married before? On the other hand, this question is to ask if you are divorced before. To answer this question, you can say yes or no. When did you get married? When did you get married? I got married on November 27th, 2004. I got married on November 27th, 2004. Where did you get married? Where did you get married? I got married in Mexico. I got married in Mexico. Who do you live with? Who do you live with? I live with my husband and my children. I live with my husband and my children. I live with my parents. I live with my parents. Do you live with your husband? Do you live with your husband? Yes, I do. Next questions are about your spouse, such as your spouse's name, date of birth, marital history, and his or her immigration status. What is your spouse's full name? What is your spouse's full name? What is your spouse's birth date? What is your spouse's birth date? Or, what is the date of birth of your spouse? Or, what is the date of birth of your spouse? What is your spouse's country of origin? What is your spouse's country of origin? Or, where is your spouse from? Or, where is your spouse from? For example, he is from Mexico. He is from the Philippines. What is your spouse's immigration status? What is your spouse's immigration status? He is a permanent resident. He is a permanent resident. Or, he is a U.S. citizen. He is a U.S. citizen. Is your spouse a U.S. citizen? Is your spouse a U.S. citizen? You can answer yes or no. For example, yes, she is. Or no, he is a permanent resident. No, he is a permanent resident. Is your spouse a lawful permanent resident? Is your spouse a lawful permanent resident? Yes, she is. Or no, she is a U.S. citizen. No, she is a U.S. citizen. How many times has your spouse been married? How many times has your spouse been married? She has been married 2 times. He has been married 1 time. Lastly, I will go to the questions about your children, such as your children's name, date of birth, immigration status. If you don't have children, you can skip this part. Do you have any children? Do you have any children? Yes, I do. I have 3 children. Yes, I do. I have 3 children. Or, no, I don't have children. Or, no, I don't have children. How many children do you have? How many children do you have? I have 3 children. I have 3 children. What is your children's relationship to you? What is your children's relationship to you? They are my biological children. They are my biological children. Or they are my stepchildren. They are my stepchildren. Are your children biological to you? Are your children biological to you? Yes, they are. Or no, they are adopted. Or no, they are adopted. Do you have any stepchildren? Do you have any stepchildren? Stepchildren are children of your spouse from a previous relationship. Do you have any adopted children? Do you have any adopted children? What are your children's names? What are your children's names? What are your children's dates of birth? What are your children's dates of birth? Do your children live with you? Do your children live with you? Yes, my children live with me. Yes, my children live with me. What is your children's immigration status? What is your children's immigration status? Are your children U.S. citizens or permanent residents? Are your children U.S. citizens or permanent residents? My children are permanent residents. My children are permanent residents. Or, my children are U.S. citizens. My children are U.S. citizens. Do you have any children from your previous marriage? Do you have any children from your previous marriage? Do you and your spouse have any children together? Do you and your spouse have any children together? All right, that's it. Please repeatedly practice listening and answering all questions in this video until you feel confident with it. Thank you for watching.